Testing, testing. Oh, welcome and good morning. Oh man, it certainly has been a while since I've streamed. So let's just do some stuff. All right, so this is a game engine that I've been building from the ground up through the last couple, probably like 2 weeks or so, give or take. And today I'm going to be just improving upon this. Eventually, I want to work more on the game than the game engine itself. And I'll just kind of quickly go through here. So I do have a nice header file that is completely separate, really. And this is something that I designed for the Digital Animation and Game Design 155 course at Ferris State University. But I ended up not being able to be the TA and show off this stuff to the students. That class is having some unfortunate issues learning some the easier content, so I'm not permitted to show them sprite sheet animations. However, it did not go to waste, as this is very useful. And so just kind of going over it rather quickly. Originally, I just had this constructor here where we would load from a file location, get the size, and then that would set the texture to the sprite, give it a chunk and area. So this is like the entire sprite sheet itself. I would tell it, hey, how many like X frames is there? So like we got 4 or whatnot, and then how many Y frames are there? There's always going to be at least one of both. And then set the animation time, how long is this going to go? And then the set sprite function here, it's kind of a helper function. And I made this in a way where the students would be able to grab certain variables or certain inner functions that are more for helping. But the actual set sprite here is pretty decent. We are using modulo and then division for the Y. So whole numbers going down and then kind of chunking it up going to the side, and this plays the proper animation. However, what I have found is for my uses, it's actually better if I can pass in a area of memory that is a texture, or that holds the data of a texture. Because in my case, a lot of the time I don't want to preload this, and kind of give a use case here. So over here, notice I have 3 folders. And each folder has an area, right? So inside Asset Preloader, if I open this up, this makefile grabs all my CPPs and builds them. And what's actually happening here is each header file kind of shows how much pixel data we have on these images. So typically, how I like to go about encoding my stuff is I make some art, or I have an artist make some art, and then I take that art and I put it in a GIMP, and then I export it as a C file, and then I use some shenanigans to really get that into a precompiled header, and then all the data in that CPP. And then I take a kind of an area like this where we are just allocating, in a sense, that memory. And in the header itself, I have a function that basically, depending on what enumerator value, so 0, 1, whatever, but labeled so that I know what it is better, we allocate some memory for the texture, and then we are creating a texture based off the data stored inside these headers. This is kind of nice because instead of loading from a folder, and then like when you build the game and you ship the game and you have all your art in a folder, and then some guy goes in and he takes your art. I mean, it's, you know, this, at least in this way, you make it harder. You're building this stuff, loading it from memory, and completely kind of hiding this stuff here. So basically, notice there's no folders for art. There's no folders here either. And if we go into here, this is more of the engine area. So for example, notice we have these managers. We have an area that defines, hey, what kind of assets am I going to have? We have an area for layers. And in this section here, this is really the baseline. This is like the low of the low. Everything stands on these pillars, so to speak. And the main ones is I drawable, I knock, and I listen. So what happens here is things that implement these interfaces. And in C++, it's not quite like Java. It's not like you straight have a implement or type word. It's basically inheritance. The only difference is because I made these pure virtual, I can still use those classes as a stub in a future class. Now, what am I talking about? Let's take a look at iDrawable. Notice render is not defined. Let's go over to the scene header. Notice here, I can use drawable as a parameter. So even though in interface here, I never defined what draw does or render does, I'm allowed to use it. And this allows me to really set up a framework, so to speak. So this is kind of the nice thing. And I have a collision manager framework, an input manager framework. This one here takes in listeners. And the main point of it is we have a list. We can add them. You can add a listener to it. And then from that listener, it's going to be looking for, hey, is a button pressed? Is a button released? Same with the key. And then we're going to notify that event. Now this here, the sent to mailers, this was a test I was doing because I also have a signal manager here. Now the signal manager, same thing. We're going to add add to this list here. And I've created two different types of guides for the signal. There is kind of an output, and then there's an input. Now, iStatus, arguably I could have chose a better wording there, and I've been wondering about that for a minute, but that's okay. And again, these are defined within here. And so in this case, with Signal Manager, we do have an update, and we can define these with these values here. Noticing what I have here for the Signal Manager, I think I know what I'm going to do for what I was about to do. So I'm going to go ahead and close out all of those. And we're going to go back into here. I'm going to open up this and kind of give you an idea. So I have this light pillar here. And this light pillar needs a way for this update to be reached. Now, what am I talking about? Can't I just simply come into the update function? Notice, so in main we have a loop called game play. Loop is defined in loop header. Loop has a play. It has some other functions here and variables. Inside loop, we have that update. So why couldn't I, noticing we have our lighting pillar there, shouldn't I just be able to do, hey, light update, like this. File, save, and then let's go ahead and make our thing. Just kind of looking here. I made an issue there, so let's go ahead and fix that. Let's go into light pillar, CPP. First size TI is 1. That should be better. Let's go back here. Oop. And let's run. Now, that seems to have created a kind of a funny issue there, which is interesting. Let's kind of go back there for a minute, and I'm going to go into loop. Just check something real quick. So that's on the entity layer, and that's on that. Let's go ahead, turn that in the background. So I got a few different issues going on all at once. Now that is very interesting. I'll kind of show you why I think that's very interesting here in a second. Let's go back and take that out. Like that. Hit make again. Run. Okay, so my animations seem to have been broken. They were not broken a moment ago before I started streaming, so this is this is good, I guess. Let's take a look here. Very odd. Let's go here. So on check should be running. I see the issue. Oh my. Notice this. So I changed some things just before because I noticed something. Let's change you back to entity. If you noticed, when I had this as entity and I started walking, the other guy, the pillar, so to speak, started to animate as the player. There's some funny reasons for that. And we'll kind of go over why what I'm doing may not be the best, but is also kind of the way that I'm choosing to do this. Just kind of go through here. Just kind of looking. We want all these to say player. Ooh. As I fill up my pasting, basically this area here, as the player is moving, tells the scene, hey, that object that you have loaded into the draw layer, go ahead and remove it and replace it. What am I talking about? So the one big downside to this nice header I was talking about at the beginning, even though this handles all my animations, it gives us one sprite. And because I wanted to be able to use this header as kind of like a single use multiple projects, I don't want to abstract upon this too much and instead more so build around it, even though it does have flaws. And here's one of the biggest flaws. In set texture here, notice we have a lot of textures that I set. Well, what's happening on set texture? If we go into basic, and this is really going to show how this works. And the reason I'm going to the header file is it's slightly stacked. So how I'm going about this is in the manager area. All my interfaces are classes, all my managers are classes, and for organizational purposes, all my components are structures. Same difference. Now, in this structure here, what we're doing is we're taking in a reference to our asset. Asset being, if we look into here, it's just a class. It's a preloadable, has some functions. That allows us to preload. So notice with this guy here, that loader is coming from our asset lib header. Notice asset lib header does not live here. This asset lib header is part of this. So we're saying, hey, when we link this program with that DLL, so to speak, it grabs this information. It then, depending on our enumerator that we pass in, it's then going to take that pointer in memory and we're going to pass it over along to here and shove it into a list. And that's what we're doing here simply. We are telling all of these assets, hey, go on this list. Now, because I'm not the best artist, I have several different chunks. So like this is the front animation. This includes the idle walk, idle walk, idle walk, idle walk, right? Front, back, left, right. And then the player can roll. And then the player has 4 attacks. And then there's an asset for the light pillar. Why do I bring this up? So in component texture, we allow it to pass in a reference to that memory we allocate from that asset header that is created in the loop. So we create that in the loop. We're accessing it in the component texture. We are also passing it the enumerator value. So to kind of see this in action, if we go over to player, we give it that memory location. We're telling it what enumerator we're going to be using. And notice those 2 values repeat. This is important. And kind of a big flaw in this design, but you know, it's okay. I give it the amount of X frames and Y frames that animation sheet has, the animation time it's going to take, what frame I want it to start on, and what frame I want it to end on. Similarly, you can see right here, for that sprite sheet, we need what texture are we using, number of X frames, Y frames, time, begin and end frame. So the sprite sheet system here. So go back over here. Inside, so it's C texture, holds on to that animation. And we can see kind of like the definition of what's going on here. We say, hey, we're going to allocate a new animation. It's going to have, we're going to pass in this type through to our asset. This is going to grab what we want. And we're going to tell it the frames it has and the animation time that it has. C texture is a component of view. View is drawable. Anything that is drawable in this game engine is handled through the manager, through scene. So scene can draw anything that's inside render map. Render map takes in a drawable and a layer, which is an enumerator defined here. So we have a layer, we have a drawable. Those are kept track of in scene here. And then similarly, or furthermore, the texture is housed in a view. The view is a drawable. So this is kind of how that texture is actually able to be drawn. And then the controller is a listener. Base is interesting. Base is interesting because it has an iKnock and an iStatus. The iKnock and iStatus is quite literally the, hey, do I have an area to be able to have a send and receive signal? That is the iStatus. The iKnock is for collision managers. And it has a collision, and it also has a view. Now, why does it have a collision and it's knockable? This is to help with certain collision detection. This way, base can be passed in as other, and also has a collision to then be detected. And then set texture, of course, here is a helper function that grabs that data that we talked about above. So over here in player, all that to say, when we load these textures in, they're not all drawn at once. And so over here in basic, if we take a look here at render, in the view, so if we go to header and we go to see view, we have a render. This is overriding that drawable function. We're telling it, hey, do you remember this memory we allocated? I'm going to dereference that memory so that I actually grab the information there. And inside of that, we have a animation, and I need to grab that sprite. That's who I'm going to be drawing, is that actual sprite. We're going to go into, that's a GitHub. We're going to close that. We're going to go into here. Go ahead and hit make. We're going to see what happens here. I'm going to hit simulate. Now notice we are now walking. And this this tower here does have some light source. Now the point of what I'm trying to do for today is notice if I bump into my light source, I can actually move it outside of that area. And we don't really want that. We want those to be linked together. And then this UI here can cover, and if I hit H, I believe, yeah, notice how, boom, that hits the health. That's because of this whole idea that loop itself doesn't want to sit here. Notice I don't have a player.update. I have the manager. Only the manager should be an update. Only the other manager. So we have a scene. The scene manager should be in charge of rendering. The input manager and the collision manager and the signal manager can have an update. The input manager is also looking through fixed update. And then when we allocate this memory here, we're then telling it, hey, go ahead and sit kindly in the scene. So player here is told, hey, you're on the player layer. This is the actual component of you that is going to be able to be drawn. The input manager is going to grab player as well. Because even though player here inherits from base, he's also a controller and is watchable. Now, is watchable is part of this whole paradigm of management. So we have watchables inside scene, and over here, this is for the camera. So very, you got different moving parts here. Now, why and what are we doing? Why did I go through that long-winded explanation? Remember the lighting pillar. The idea here is instead of messing with the collision separating axis system and telling, hey, I don't want this to move, I want the other to move. Notice when the player touches the pillar, they kind of look like they're not moving because of the camera. So that's fine. We can have that illusion. The problem is that light source is going to move, and that kind of breaks the illusion of being still upon collision. With that being said, we need a way to make sure that that light is at the sprite's position. Simple enough. I do not want to call light.update or even have a big bucket of objects that all have an update and be like, for this and that, update all of these in here. I want to stick to the paradigm that a manager is the only one who has permission, access, that type of stuff. And so here, if we simulate, notice I'm in the light zone. Even if I have that, because here's about the location of that light. Even if I have that in the update, it doesn't appear to be updating this location. And one of the easier ways to go ahead and see this light as well, right now I have it as a blend multiply here. This is what I'm overall going to prefer. If we go here to a blend add, the light will be a lot more apparent. And we can see here what's happening, right? And we want this light to be there. So let's first off take a look at the current logic, and just to be making sure that we are grabbing the correct thing. So we have a set position. This should say, hey sprite, move that position. Let me go into, leave it be loop here. Let's come up here. So this should be the position. Let's say 100 there. And what I'm looking for is this going to move both the pillar and the light source, or just one? Looks like it moves both. Notice it starts at the corner. We should, offset that, but that will come with time. So here is the set position. Looks like we are going like that. So grabbing the active sprite, setting its position, and then I would say, honestly, to kind of get that offset real quick, if we get the active sprite's position, and then we want this to be a position. So I will say I want it to be, we want that, we want this. So we want to get the active sprite's position in the X. And then we're going to subtract it by some value. And then similarly the Y, and subtract that by some value. I'm just going to count my parentheses here. 1, 2, 3, 4 should be fine. Might be wrong, but we want to slide it over and slide it over. The amount we slide it over by would be half of the sprite's size of the light components. So let's go in, because we should be able to use that. Here. Let's take a look here. So we're going to grab the index, we're going to set the position based off position. So at this index, you know what? This actually might be the better area to do this, because we might be able to do position.x and then position.y, and here would be minus the lights, and our index is sprite dot minus that. And similarly here, that would be a Y, and there should be some type of minus there. And that way, just kind of looking here, if we actually undo what we had over here, just do a position, should be fine. Go ahead, save. Right now this is checking, hey, is this going to compile for 1? Let's see here, what's the issue? Request from member sprite in this. Maybe I want to use that. Yeah, because that should be a pointer there. Just making sure the get size thing here. Interesting, doesn't have a get size. But we do have a radius. Let's go ahead and do that. So we will do try it like that. And we'll make clean, clear. Hello, hello. Yeah, we're just kind of looking and changing some things in this game engine. No matching function to call, light, float, float. $56. Radio, right? Because radius here what's happening is it's taking all that information. Let me not break my line there. It was taking all that information as two floats, when in fact we basically have to place that information as a vector. And let's see here. So right now we're just trying to offset this light. And then the next part is back to the plot. Notice because of the collision, we want to update this light to be in the position of our thing here. So want to make sure our logic is correct. Now, going back to update, we're saying, hey, that seems like an issue to me. So I'm going to go ahead and make that 0. We're coming back, and notice now when we walk into this, this is updated. If you noticed, the problem is it was still being kind of that weird offset system, and that's, you know, kind of the funny part there. Let's see, because we really want to reuse this, because then it's going to go up the ladder and hit here, right? And when we access just this at those, it's kind of skipping that step. So if we do like a set position like this, and then shove in the positions, I'll just add that L back, and then we just shove the positions in here, we should be fine. Now, what we really should be doing here, I wonder too, you know what, we'll just do get active sprite, get position, kind of like that, save, we'll run this, hit make. Let's see what the thing is here. Notice that's a function, it needs to have the parentheses. Now, if you guys have any questions on what's going on, want me to slow down, want me to talk about why I'm doing these things, let me know. For right now, what I am doing here, and let's actually take a look at this. What's going on with that? So dot, oh, it's probably is get active sprite returning a pointer. It is, yep. So that would be certainly an issue there. So we're going to make these. What is going on here? No matching function to call all sprites. Set position const vector 2f and. Well, that's just kind of weird. So you do not want to take in, we could make that a reference, I suppose. The only issue with making a copy of it is when we call set position in loop, I would then have to, instead of just passing in something like this, I'd have to have a position and then pass that in. Not the end of the world, but not what I'm trying to do either. So let's see, in the member void update, no matching function call to set position const. Oh, we need an index. That is funny, right? Because we need an index there. I'm just going to call for now 0. You never want to have hard-coded numbers. You know, that's definitely frowned upon. But I'm going to do it because why not? All right, so now we notice that image is centered. We bump into it. It's all good. We're not moving. We have the logic correct. Now that the logic is correct, I'm going to set that light to be a blend multiply there. We're going to run that one more time just to kind of see the intended effect. And then what we're going to do from here, guys, is we're going to do this correctly. So here's our nice little light source. Now, what do I mean by do this correctly? Well, I'm glad that you're here because the point of kind of a framework is to stick to the paradigm in which you set yourself to. There's certain rules for organization, folks, and you know it's best to kind of follow the rules that you set. In loop here, because I have this manager, and if we notice manager includes our lib file, notice lib does not live here. Well, what's happening is we link our manager and our asset preloader at runtime. And to really kind of harp this point down here, so I'm going to save this. I'll just kind of like sit in main for a second. If we go into here, this is our manager, and this is our asset preloader. If I make clean on those, and then I'm going to hop back over, so we can think about this as this is independent per application. Your assets are going to be different. This is this particular application's assets. This is the system that allows you to build multiple applications. This is the logic of the application. So logic, art, engine. So here, if I try to make now, notice this error. Cannot find L manager, cannot find L assets. This is because manager itself, it has this lib file. In Windows, you'd make a DLL. In here, it's a .so. I forget exactly what that stands for, but at the end of the day, tomato, tomato. Now, if we go back to here, now that I've made those, I'm going to go ahead and clean, clear, and hit make. Now that it has all that information, the program can run. Now, with that being said, the reason I was showing a lot of how this framework is built, I mean, I would love to look at your game engine. I would probably learn a lot from it. It doesn't matter what language it's in. But yeah, I would love to. If you have a GitHub repository, or if you have some type of link I can go to, I'll review it on the stream. I'm sure I'm going to learn a lot from it. Making game engines really, really helps a lot with the fundamental understanding of how systems work. And I'm finding myself to be much more inclined to system programming than the the actual application or game, so to speak. But without further ado, and the part I've been avoiding, Notice we don't want to sit here and have like a a player update and a light update. We don't want that at all. But we still want that information to get to this update loop. And notice right here, Signal Manager has an update. Yeah, that's fine. You've learned C, C++, Python, JavaScript, React, Node, and made small projects in each, but I'm feeling lost on what to focus on. Really into game dev / engines. Any advice on where to start? I mean, I'm still in college too, so I'm going for game design at Ferris. It's a great program. I've taken some software engineering classes with the digital software engineering side of Ferris. There's there's a computer science part. There is I think there's like 4 programming delineations. But my best advice is portfolio and networking. Sounds really weird, but honestly, like I love programming, but nobody gives a shit if I'm good at C++ or Java or Python. They want to know, it's like, hey man, are you fun to work with, or are you a pain in the ass to work with? And so having great communication, having the willingness to learn, to admit, like, hey, I'm good, but I'm not as good as I might want to think. I think overall that's kind of my best advice. So I would start with take some communication classes, if you haven't already, and if you have, and you're like, hey, really, like, I want to know what to focus on for to set myself apart. It really depends on like your trajectory. So I do a lot of SFML stuff. I really don't think there's anything in the market wise that's going to be like, hey, go ahead and build this game from scratch, build all these engine stuff. And so being like decent at things, like, okay, you have some Unity stuff, you have some Unreal Engine stuff, some Python stuff for Pygame. Raylib is amazing. I don't know Raylib, but I look at it and go, wow, this is actually something much better than SFML. SDL, SDL2, you really want to put yourself in a position where you are able to learn and come with previous knowledge that could be useful, and just be working. Howdy. So this is a little game engine thing here. There's a bunch of different paradigms for organization. I guess the best way I would call this paradigm is the manager pattern, in a sense. So everything is handled by managers in the actual update loop. Things are allocated on initialization for like the light and the player here, but the actual manager itself is adding those objects to the scene, adding those objects to a collision manager, to a signal manager, and this is kind of what we're going to be working on right now. So just to give a showcase here on what we're going to be doing with the light pillar and what I've already done with the player, because they're very similar here. I'm going to go back here, go to the simulation. Notice the health bar. So one thing I want to take a look at is I've added the player to what I've called a mailer, and I've added the UI to what I call a subscriber. So you could think about this as the player is sending out a signal. The UI is subscribed to that signal. And over here is my test key. If event key code is H, so if this event was driven, then we're telling our input manager to send to the mailers And this manager libs grabbing a reference to our signal manager, grabbing the senders list and saying, hey, at this location, send that information. So if we go back and I hit H, the health bar lowers. Now, why does it lower? So let's take a look here. I'm going to go ahead, going to make clean. I'm going to come over to this location, to the manager. I'm going to open this. Oh, didn't need the comma there, so that's, whatnot. But that's kind of interesting too. Didn't know that added the comma there. Ooh, would do something like that. Anyway, the input manager here is accessing our sender, and it's telling its value at the X to be 20. Now this seems pretty abstract, right? Like what is 20? Values must be some type of vector X and Y, and yeah, absolutely. But for the time being, I found it to be very useful. So let's take a look at player here, and let's kind of hop back down a base. Notice we have this get values override, and let's kind of take a look at base for a hot second. Notice the UI is an I apply, and then let's take a look here at base. Base is a I status. So let's kind of take a look back over here in the interface. So I apply, this is where the UI lives. I status, this is where our entities live. Now our entities have a rule, basically, that they follow. They can grab their positions, they can grab their values, and then they have a channel. So each entity is going to has its own channel, so to speak. So like an enemy, when it attacks the player knows to take damage if it's communicated on with that same channel, kind of like a radio station. And I apply here is kind of the difference, right? And if we notice here, we have a lot of these same things that we've been messing around with on the light source. But the even bigger portion here, if we look at Signal Manager, we have a update. And looking at Signal Manager's update, we are calling this set position in this get position. And so kind of what I'm thinking here is, instead of having like the update instead of light, what if the light itself was a receiver? And then, right, because we want to set the position of the light source, and the light pillar is a sender, right? Because when we bump into that light, we want it to move. We want it to appear that it doesn't move, basically. And so we need to set that light at that same position. We got a lot going on here in the comments. Holy cow. Listener dispatcher system. Yeah, and the ADHD stuff, yeah, guys, I probably have that too. I don't have a cure. I would just say it's probably like a biological improvement. You know, it deals with, like, we used to be hunter-gatherers. Now we don't have to hunt. We don't have to be like, oh, all the time. And so then, like, our brains are just going, bah, 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 right? So ADHD is probably normal. Hot take. Anyway, so we have a set position, we have a set values. This set values thing, that's actually, if we take a look back at that player system there, that set values is what's really happening with that H button, right? So in header, we have a get values, and we have a health and a stamina. So if we take a look here in the constructor, simply I'm like, yo, in this case, because I wanted something quick and dirty, I want to say the values that I want to change on this channel is going to be health and stamina. And all I need to know is, hey, player, I want you to grab the values and just throw them out. Reason being is in our loop, the get signal manager, when H is pressed, sender's at 0, right? So let's take a look here. If we go back over to our input manager and we're gonna go here, we pass in a sender and it goes, hey, this individual sender, I want you to grab your X and I want it to be equal to 20. So what has happened there is the player, when we push H, his 100 becomes a 20, and then you've seen his bar go pop. That's kind of what's going on here, right? So, and how does the UI grab that information? Well, simply it's an iApplier, and if we take a look here, in the interface, iApply says, hey, I can set my value, right? And so in Signal Manager, we set the value. So at our channel for our receiver, we're going to set the value to the value we found at the other channel's value. So it's getting that value, it's 100, it's 100, I push H, it's 20, bam, we're at 20. Simple enough. Now we're going to do the same thing, set position with our light source. So currently, light source. We do have a set position. Now notice this set position takes in an index and a position type of guy. And if we go back to basic, we know that basic's iStatus is going to have an override function for get position and get values. We also know that for header in the player, the UI is going to have an overrided function for set values in set channel. The lighting itself does have a set position. And so without too much changing here, kind of my thought is we make this C light and iApply. We add another function for to meet that paradigm. So right, like if we do a public iApply, and this is going to have to be an override function, and I'm just going to check here real quick on the other's position guy. So we're going to go into the interface, right? So it's passing by value, not by reference. So far so good on transferring the system. The only thing is, because iApply has these functions as well, we're going to have to go in here and create these. And I will go like that. I will call override, Control-Shift-I. I'm not going to create set values on this one. We're just going to leave it empty. Should be fine. Set channel. Since this is an applier, should be able to just say like channel, right? So this channel is channel. That should be fine. I'm going to file, save. So now we have a set position. Just kind of looking here. Yeah. So we need this to be able to communicate with Mr. Pillar here. Pillar is a base, and we know that base itself is a status guy. So he can just grab this stuff. Now in base here, if we go into the get position, might be already defined. Bam, we have that defined. We have these defined, just like that. Yeah, get values does have a type for a return type. So I am in fact kind of forced my hand here. I do have to, ooh, well, set values I don't. So take that. Yeah, I would say like, don't mind my ADHD. Just so one thing I would say about ADHD is definitely like have a routine. I would say helps a lot. I prefer my listeners to give a lambda to the dispatcher, which is forced by the dispatcher to take whatever parameters. So then the listener subscribed can just write their own implementation. To give a lambda. You know, that is a great idea. I will look into that. That's that's a fantastic idea. Yeah. Okay. As you can tell, the way I've been doing it is kind of like having interface here. I kind of have my virtual functions, and then they define that implementation, similar to the Lambda, right? Because these virtual functions aren't defined. These, in a sense, pure virtual classes are used as parameters in my managers, and then because in the future something inherits from them and then defines that implementation, and then you can always override in the future with as you go down the chain. The Lambda idea is certainly interesting. Yeah, you're probably onto something there. I'll keep that in mind. I do tend to over-engineer quite a bit, but that's okay. Back to the plot here. We really don't want this, right? And we know that get position here already exists in BASIC. It already has really what we want. And it has a channel. It has values. So I'm almost curious if it already works. Let's go ahead and delete that. This set position here, I do think we need initially, but I think as it goes down the chain, let's see. You know what? We'll try something. We'll try something here. Make some issues happen. So I think we just need to add some channels and set some stuff up here. So light, this is where our light is. And our light pillar, he owns a light component. The light component itself is what's going to be drawn, but the object inside that list of what's going to be drawn can be added to our signal manager. And then that signal would be updated based off of our light pillar. So our light pillar and our object within our list of light pillar. Okay, so that's a little convoluted, but you know what? It's fine. Probably. So we're going to do a manager's lib. I'm going to do the get signal manager, and the mailer would be the light itself, and then the manager lib, we're gonna not let that autocomplete. Gonna grab the signal manager, add to subscribed. It's not quite the light component. It would be the light components lights object. And of course, you know, there I am again. Hard coding things. It's fine for now. Just kind of looking here, that looks like the manager stuff. Gonna hit make here, see what breaks. And it seems like that did not work. It actually kind of seems like quite a bit broke there. That is interesting. Let's take a look here. Add to mailer. You know what? Did I ever tell it what channel it was on? That might be a funny that I did. Right, because inside of here, I was like, yo, let's set the channel. But I never set the channel here, and certainly wanted on a different channel. And then even more so, so yeah, let's not do it on the wrong channel. Yeah, if you send over your GitHub repository. Oh yeah, that does not seem to be updating our light position quite yet. Let's take a look. Then I would be more than happy to look at how you're implementing your lambdas. So this set position is changing. Yeah, no, let me take. Any reason for not using CMake? Yeah, absolutely. I have no idea how to use CMake properly. Just like money, I am still learning. And type in make isn't too bad. It's about the same. So it kind of the preference at the moment. So set position. Oh, it's not quite that I hate it, dislike it. I don't know. To be very transparent and honest, I don't even make my own make files. I do ask ChatGPT. I go, hey, this is what I need. It generates these make files for me. Sometimes I got to argue with it. I am no CMake expert at all. But what I've noticed is coming over to Linux land and using Visual Studio Code instead of Visual Studio 2022, I don't really get that fancy play button without setting up some type of JSON script and stuff. Much beyond my pay grade as a small indie developer who's certainly still learning a lot. Just turns out to be easier. Have the AI make the make files, and then from there just kind of that way I can just compile my code and test it as quickly as possible. And this is kind of like the second iteration of this type of game system I'm doing, if I come out for a second, very similar thing here, right? We have a lib, we have a GUI lib, and then we even have a music lib. And then inside this, it uses those libraries. And then if we were to run this program, it has these options and whatnot. And then as you can tell up here, I was kind of practicing that light. So a lot of the time, and this is a game I'm working on called Galactic Smith, but a lot of the time when I start making a game, I not necessarily get bored of it, but this game's going to take a very long time to do. And so I do take a break from this stuff in a sense of changing projects. And maybe that's the ADHD in me. But yeah, it's C++ build files. Yeah, I do that as well. I just want to get, yeah, that's the thing. At the end of the day, right, it's, hey, I wrote this code. Does it fucking work? And new guy here, I was researching to start game dev C++, probably starting from a text-based game in Terminal. I'm finding myself in a tutorial sinkhole. You know what? That's very real. And so in 2019, I started my game development journey. I was living at home with my dad. I had some medical health issues happen, took me out of school for a while, and I started on YouTube, right? And there's a few great YouTubers I found for Unity. Zigguris for Unity was fantastic. Brackeys, of course, everyone has come across. Aaron Code, fantastic YouTuber, but very similarly, I found myself doing a tutorial, wanting to do a thing, looking up how to do that thing, and then finding the tutorials didn't really mesh well. And I was doing a lot of watch and code, right? I watched what they did. I did the same. Sometimes it wouldn't compile. It would get rather annoying. And it took a long time. What ended up for me, on what really got me out of the tutorial kind of stranglehold, was a mixture of two things. I went to Ferris and I took an actual coding class. That helped a lot, honestly. Having a lot of the previous knowledge from the copy paste days into, hey, this is why you're doing this stuff, clicked a lot. Secondly, doing stuff from scratch, right? Because when you do something in Unity, you go, hey, how do I make the character move? Then you look on a Reddit thread or a Stack Overflow or YouTube, or nowadays you have ChatGPT, Gemini, all these different AI language models, right? And so you start to look up all this stuff, and it ends up being in this loop of, I want to do this, so I'm going to do that, and then you kind of go like this. But when you make your own framework, you stop searching, hey, how do I do this very specific thing in this very specific way, into this is what I want to do, how do I get there? And there's a lot less you can search up with the how do I get there, and it forces you, that's the hardest part, is training your mind to be active, to really put in that thinking. And so I hope that helps. Yeah, as I have no idea how to pronounce this your username, the 2114 guy, but yeah, you just kind of send it, man. It's the only way to get out of the tutorial hell. got so tilted by CMake some point that I spent a whole day just crafting Project Baseline to make integration with third-party packages easy, and then just to reuse it in my future projects. Interestingly enough, why I end up breaking my stuff apart like this wasn't in the fact of, oh, I want to engineer this super complicated thing and I have all this abstraction, yay. No, what happens is I get all these CPP files and I go to compile and it goes compile, compile, compile. And then it does this. And then it finally finishes, right? After like, 45 seconds to a minute. And then I can test for 4 seconds to see that my thing didn't work, for me to undo, change a thing, recompile, wait 45 seconds. Yeah, no. So if you compile these things separately, and then you're working on like a smaller area, things compile so much faster. I don't have to wait so long, and that's kind of like how my brain works. Is I want to do something, so I kind of like build up to that point, and then when I'm inconvenienced by something, I go, hey, how do I get around that? And then eventually this stuff kind of like melds and mixes and whatnot. But back to the thingamabob here, I noticed that my pillar was not moving. And so let's take a look here. Light pillar, I'm just going to take out that update there, is a base. And basic here does have a get position. And if we are looking here on our pillar, we are setting the channel. And just to kind of look at the other guy here, our interface for the status guy has a position, can set a channel, and similar for the apply, we can set a position by value, and then we can set a channel. So I'm going to go into Signal Manager, and so a receiver, in this case the receiver should be the light. It has a channel. We should set its position to the position grabbed in senders. And so we're going to go back here and take a look in lighting. We set our channel, set position, changing it by value. That should be fine. This part here, we do keep that there for the loop guy. Just kind of checking here. We're adding to the mailer, so the light itself, and to the subscribed, we're adding the first guy in our list. So let's go here, looking. So we pushed him back, and should only have one in the list based off of loop here, right? So when we make a new lighting pillar, so on construction, we set the asset, we allocate light component, we created a temporary light, we shoved it into our light, and we set the channel. So when temp is made, I'm going to go into lighting here. When this is made, we are setting the channel. We are looking at its position. And so, and loop here, just kind of looking here, manager.signal.update. That's fine. Let's take a look at our signal guy. if channel S is not R, go ahead and return. I wonder, honestly, we're going to remove that for a second. My question is, I do have multiple senders, multiple listeners. So I do wonder. Hold on. I think that might be the thing. Notice at R, at S, right? So because of that, there's a number in there, right? 0, 1, so on and so forth. So order of operations, order matters. Notice here, this is now 0, where this is now 1. So I think that's part of it. That's not the whole story, but that's certainly part of it. So we're going to put it there. That's something I'm certainly going to want to alleviate sooner than later. Nope. Notice that light source is still being shoved out of there. So let's go ahead and make clean, clear. I'm going to go into lighting here. We're going to make that light a little bit easier to see with our blend mode. So we'll go like that. Why am I making when I know it doesn't work? Well, just stubbornness. So we're just kind of looking at it. So yeah, it certainly is not updating this with that. And so, earlier in the stream, I showed how the logic should be, and now I'm trying to fit it within the paradigm that I set up. Hello, hello, Omar. So all lights is drawable. We're adding temporary into our list. Setting position. This set position technically should be. Oop, that's collision. Technically, that set position should be this one. Just adding those. This part here does have something, this light component. I kind of want it to just be this, I think. And, that might be not quite proper. Right? Because, that's the thing there. Because this set position, I could give it a different name, technically. But you know what? We're not gonna go ahead and do that. We are gonna leave it like that. I wonder though, because adding to the subscribed here, that should set position. You know what I'm going to do? We are going to do, so senders channel dot size. So we're going to say, hey, This is going to be our senders, and then this is going to be our receivers. And I just want to make sure that we do have a how many I think we have there. So this is the manager. I'm going to recompile that. So clean, clear, make, and then in the other guy, notice nothing's printing. That should be fine. I mean, not really. Shouldn't be really all that fine. Let's see here, bot. Interesting. Huh. I really would have thought that would have printed. Do have IO stream there. Interesting. I wonder why that did not print there. You know what? That's fine, I suppose, because we'll just print it elsewhere. So we'll make clean there, and then we will go here. Boom. We want to grab this guy. So we do have those. So that's, both of them are there. Now I suppose, let's take a look here. So we're gonna go ahead, kind of make another print here. Yep, and isn't autocomplete fucking crazy today, guys? Like, did you see that? Like, what the hell? That is nuts. So we do have a 0 and a 1, a 0 and a 1. And that guy is not... certainly not updating. So we're gonna take that out for a second. So now we should see the UI does not move with the player. Oh, that, okay. So that makes sense, right? Because of my hard-coded channels here. So keep in mind, or I should keep in mind, that as things are added to that, we really shouldn't let them set their own channel. Their channel should be incremented as they're added to the list. So that's just something. And so... Yep. And that's the funny part there. Do you notice how that pillar is in the top left corner? And also notice how they are actually communicating now. So I do wonder, based off of just that alone, we're going to go back into loop here. I think, and I am not certain. I think that's the issue. Honestly, I think for some reason, in my head, this goes, hey, per guy. But I think that's not quite the case there. So we're going to try it like this. Now, because I made changes here, I should recompile that. So let's go back into our manager here. We're going to recompile. And that, you know what, we'll just go ahead and close that out. And then here, we'll go like this. Man, that's bizarre. Yeah, I'm starting to think it's a little bit more than just a little issue there. I think I'm gonna have to do an actual for loop here, not a for each loop. So let's try it. So for let's do a size ti is 0. I is less than center. Yeah, that should be fine. Control Shift I, and then for size t, j is 0. J is less than receiver's channel. So, dot size j plus plus. That continue guy, we'll see about that. It could be accurate. That is the other thing. And so this is probably the biggest disadvantage to having these different libraries, is very, very likely is after you have a lot of your things in production, so you already have all your art, you already have your managers basically like to a T, then it's okay. But if you notice that I got to go back and forth like that, it's not necessarily the best. Now, again, though, why in the world? The only other thing I can guess because it did seem to be, let's see here, just a quick sanity check. It did seem to be when we don't have player in our list and these guys are in a channel, that they did communicate. That's at least what it seemed like. But also notice it's in the top left-hand corner there. So I do wonder, let's go to lighting. Let's go into set position. We have a position, setting it by value, setting our sprite's position. Now get position. We never defined here. Notice this is what we were doing originally. And then in basic here, he already has his position, which is being sent over. And if we go back into lighting here, notice how we do like that radius there. You know, a quick fix for the offset in this case would be this, but that still doesn't quite answer the question of why, when I have multiple channels, does my thing not cooperate? Yeah, so this appears fine. But the other does not. So lighting, light pillar, and then back in loop. It's kind of looking here. That was just kind of looking a little weirdly indented. Yeah, that was that was a weird looking thing. Let's see. So we're incrementing. That's our channel S. We're incrementing J. That's our channel J. Go here. Hello, hello. If anybody sees my bug, help me squish it. Or rubber duck with me here for a minute. So the signal header here, we have a list of status guys, our senders. We have a list of appliers, which is our receivers, and we have a list of those channels. So list of guys, list of channels. In here, I am looking for the channel, but not quite the guys. So that could be one part. That's kind of weird. So kind of what I'm thinking here is, right, like for our list of senders, our channel is sender's channel at that same index. For our list of receivers, that might be a thing there as well. I know sometimes these double for loops, you can get the repeated value. We'll kind of try like this. Clean, clear, make, and click, and we'll go to the other guy. We'll run this. Question, I'm an absolute beginner in C++. Is there any best way to configure things like compile and debugger? If you're on Windows, Visual Studio 2022, super helpful. That would be my recommendation. Because being an absolute beginner, you really, kind of diving in really deep with the debugger. Use art. Oh shit! A Linux guy. Oh no. No, all jokes aside. Okay, is there a best way to configure things like a compiler? I think there's a couple of YouTube videos that tell you how to go about getting your like G++ version. I forget exactly how you're supposed to ask it for that, something like that. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, you basically you're gonna want to set up like a G++ thing for your compiler, and then like here there's like extensions you can use, and like you can type in like C++ and you get some syntax highlighting. So that's kind of how I went about it. I would certainly look on some YouTube stuff. The Cherno, guy used to work at EA, fantastic YouTuber. Also, why did that let me compile? That's funny. Let's go back here. That is hilarious. So this is the manager. Wow. Yeah, I'm on Ubuntu. I think like the 24 point something. And again, I'm gonna admit this one's kind of stumping me here, right? Because let's make clean here and clear it. Let's take a look at our loop here. You know what? I'm going to leave these channels at 1, and then I'm just going to do player after the fact. Just because I'm kind of tired of changing those back and forth. We'll go up here, like that. Go into loop. Go here, comment those out for now, and then as a reminder, I'll put it there. File, save. So right now I'm kind of testing. Okay, so that system is moving properly. But when I seem to add to our list, that's when things seem to break. Only one is working at a time. I think right there was a kind of a great example of the actual problem, right? Because when player was above and was at index 0, this here did not work proper. And as every time we removed player and looked at lights would work on their own. And then if we had player first, player would work on his own, lights wouldn't. So for whatever reason, when we are in this loop here, both are not working. So we're going to go ahead, try it like this. Because I'm thinking this is certainly an issue, more so in my manager than it is an issue outside the manager. And so let's take a look here. I'm going to do something super mundane, and this is simply for sanity checks. See if I can get both of them to move. I cannot. That last test seemed a little bizarre, so I'm gonna do something real quick. I'm going to close out both of those. I'm gonna make sure I am in the proper directories here. And one good test here. No, I'm in the proper directory. Remember, lights is 0. That is bizarre. It's documents here. We're gonna make clean that. I'm gonna come over here. I know that's already clean. We're gonna try making it without that chunk there, making sure we do have an error. That's a sanity check. We're gonna come back over to their other compiler here. I'm going to make this one. We're going to make this one too. Technically, the player and the UI should move. The reason why I'm pausing like this is that player shouldn't exist. Absolutely should not exist. What is happening here? Because I deleted that a while back, right? Did none of the changes I make save where I thought they saved? They did not. Is GitHub fucking with me right now? Oh. It is a directory issue. Notice how I keep going here. And I kept changing things here. Pretty sure this is where I was changing a lot of stuff. not that one, this one. Almost certain. That I wasn't compiling the right area. Holy cow. So this is the asset area. Wow. That's congratulations to me there. Right. So this is this area. This should be that area. Maybe I'm just crazy. The issue persists, though. The issue does persist. And the question at this point is, why? And so maybe you guys are seeing what I'm not seeing here. And if you do, that would be fantastic. So let me just kind of slow down and ask this question. Set channel here is saying, hey, I want the channel to be this number, right? So this is channel 0. And then for the light pillar, he's also channel 0. This is the channel. Now, over in Signal Manager, I'm saying, hey, sender's at 1, get position, the first guy in our list. Or the second guy in our list, so to speak, right? Because when we push back their channel and we push back that sender, that's what's happening here. And so technically, if we say, hey, this number is 0 in the constructor, and then we push this back, this should be 0 too. This should be the 0th member in the list. And I'm telling the first member in the list. And so that's the weirdest part for me on that. And so let's go ahead. Let me go here. Let me make that clean, clear, make. And this is in the template area. So if the pillar is the only one who's moving, if I push H then, yeah, so nothing happens on H because the player himself is not being updated. So that should be accurate. But the reverse did not appear to be accurate. And it is going to kind of really weird me out if when I push H now that the UI changes, but the UI also is not following the player. So push H. Oh, well, I mean, of course, H would not change in this manner. But notice, that time it did work. So don't ask me, to be honest, because that was just a bit strange there. Reason why that wasn't working with the H button is we were asking the 0 channel. Now let's go ahead and ask that H channel. We'll hit make. My guess is the UI will follow the player. H changes the UI. Okay. So that seems okay. So can we have the best of both worlds? Can I have both, please? can both of these channels operate at the same time? Make clean, clear, and make. Make clean, clear, make. That's okay. So I think there was like kind of an issue between directories potentially with me showing some stuff. But I also have no idea why my for loop did not work. Yeah, that should be a for loop. So we've seen the idea work. Now let's make the idea work correctly. So for I think we're gonna go receivers first. I'm gonna let it populate like that for a second. That seems fine. I'm going to say receivers, senders, see if that's called senders channel. Yeah. Okay, you got a question. Hopefully I have an answer that is not too convoluted. So we have I, we got J, J is senders, that needs to be J. This should be I. File, save. Boom. So the warnings, they're not bad. In this case, that warning is kind of why I've been using the size T. That's more of a compiler thing. I guess size T is more appropriate. I'll just make clean and clear again. Notice there's no weird warnings that time. I'm not quite sure what the difference is between the two. So I would like to learn coding, so which language should I start with? That is such a loaded question, my friend. I would say there are 4 languages that you should start with. Java, C#, or C# and Java. Kind of go hand in hand. Mixed with that, I think JavaScript, honestly, as weird as that sounds, is an okay thing to start with as well. Reason being is it's typeless, meaning it's super similar to Python. And you don't need to say, hey, int this number, that number, so on and so forth. But the other thing is it allows you to build a broader range of applications, and there's also like a game engine. I don't know if you guys know about this one. It's called GDevelop, and it's a no-code game engine, but it's written in JavaScript out of all things, and it's actually pretty fantastic. And I don't know if you guys noticed with all my bantering and whatnot, but I got it. Long story short, for some reason, I was in a different directory when I was trying to make those changes, and things were not actually changing that I thought were changing. And so here's the idea. Why did I go through all that? Well, here's the illusion, right? So when I walk into this, we did not want the pillar to move outside of the light source. Now you might say, hey Brett, why not just say, hey duh, on collision, don't move that object. Well, collision code is kind of a pain in the ass. There's radial collision, there's line axis bounding box collision. This is separating axis theorem collision style, where we calculate edge normals, project to that point, have some type of collision detection, and then within that there's a resolution, and then you resolve that collision. And there's a argument to be made of like, hey, just don't move one of your sprites when you collide. I think that is a fantastic point, to be honest. But something funny is there's a lot of illusion that can happen. And instead of changing a lot of the hard-coded framework within the collision structure itself, maintaining an illusion, I think, is overall better. And I'll kind of show that with one thing here. So we will remove the camera from the player, and I'll also remove the manager from the player as well for the scene here, and we'll simulate. Okay, notice I can move, right? The camera's not following, and I can bump this and it moves, right? And so this is technically what's happening. Now, this, you can argue it's like, okay, just again, don't move that. But what's very interesting is if you maintain an illusion and then you keep that standard for everything, it has no consequential difference on the viewer. What do I mean by that is, with having the camera, right? There's no way to know. It just looks like you're not moving, right? Like you're moving, you're not moving. And so it's just an illusion. And as long as everything follows that predetermined paradigm, it's perfectly fine. Now this guy, ooh, that's cool. What did we have happen there? Look like you know what? I bet you that's in here. Do you have any social like Discord or... I do have a Discord channel. However, I would like to promote someone else's Discord channel. That's the issue right there. That's that seg fault. The reason I would like to promote this other Discord channel is it has a lot more people, guys. I mean, it is an absolutely fantastic Discord. And I think overall, you guys will have a lot more fun. Like, for example, I do have a Discord where I'm going over some Galactic Smith stuff. And then I have... Let me see here. Yeah, so I do have this channel here. There's like one guy, me and one other guy. Now this channel, Sad Slime. This is really the channel you guys want to get into. I do not own this channel. Pixel Pete owns this channel. So if we go over to YouTube, good old YouTube here, let it load. Pixel Pete. This is the guy. He has a Discord channel right here. I highly recommend joining this Discord channel because it has so many game developers, so many people. The Last Phoenix is being made by Pete. He has a huge A-Sprite tutorial for pixel art. This is a growing channel. This is a great place to be. And I've even found people in this channel that were part of other game design channels that I've had in the past. Not that I've had in the past, but that I've joined in the past, like Aaron from Aaron Code on YouTube. And so, yes, if you're gonna, if you want a Discord, join Pixel Pete's. It has a huge community, and instead of like wanting to be selfish or growing my own, community and whatnot, I think it's for the betterment of just everybody in general to just have a lot of communities. Join these, get to know people. They are a fantastic group. They're all very willing to help, and they're a bit older. I think they're like in their 30s or so. Is Pete, but very well knowledged. The Last Phoenix is going to be a great game. I believe he was on Steam Next Fest, and yeah. So now I should be able to roll and not have any seg faults. So basically, in this little game here, it's going to be a Souls-like. We're going to have some attacks here. Now notice I do have some weird offset going on. I'm honestly going to leave it. I think it's fine. It's part of the sprites. Am I going to play? I grew up playing GTA 5. I remember when that came out on the PlayStation 3. I was in high school. And I should be able to hit H. Yup, and that goes there. So the main idea here, guys, is I want to continue this paradigm of this manager system. Things are added to the scene on different layers. And then the player is added to an input manager. And this signal manager, this is what should handle enemy updates. As we just seen with the light guy there. Ooh, we'll just kind of set that back. The light component is also using that. Now the one thing with the set position, it's called set position now. It might be in my interest to add an update function. Now, go ahead and say hi in that Discord. My username is Dinzai. I am just a guy. I've been working on many different projects. Just in case anybody is late to the channel here, I'm just gonna quickly show this. This is a game I've been building with one other guy called Galactic Smith. Before I added lights into this game I'm working on with the Souls-like, I did add lights here to kind of be like my test zone in a lot of ways. We have menus, and it is a on release click, as buttons should be for the most part. And if you click and let go like that, it shouldn't pop over. We can like crush rocks and whatnot. And then here I have a GUI system. And then we can plop things. The terrain here is generated with a Perlin noise. And we have this type of system here. Let's say I grab like one of those, one of these. Notice we have those in the inventory. I click here. Hey, I want iron. I want one. And then here, one. Oh, that's 4. 1. Click the check mark. It's going to start building this up. We have some animation play. And when this bar is across, of course, then we will have our item. And then our item here. Now, why am I not working on this game? Well, I am. And it's going to be multiplayer. And I've definitely got this to work. So you guys can't see from here. Actually, you know what? I can get you guys to see from here, likely. So this here is a server. My server has another version of this game, and it can run the actual server, and then this would join that, and then I've checked it with multiple computers, different on different networks. It works. There's a couple weird glitches here, but the reason I'm not working on this in this stream is it's hard, guys. I mean, there's a lot of stuff. Multiplayer is hard. The scope of this game is huge, right? It is a huge crafting game, and it's going to take me a lot of time. And so kind of like the thought process here is very similarly, I have a library area, and this has all my art assets that was made by Ayub. He's also part of Pixel Pete's Discord server. And all of these are created. This is all the art as a CPP file, what it has for pixel data, the works, right? And so we do the same with the GUI. We chunk that in here, and then same here. And then I've built a Windows version of this. The Windows version works. I've never tested if the Windows version can connect with the Linux version server. We'll see. But that's kind of the gist, right? And to be more full circle and transparent, why the hell would I be working on what I'm working on right now? And for example, like, here's my art, right? Like, this is this is made by yours truly here. I am not an artist by trade, but I am doing my best to learn art so I have a better understanding. And it's tough, but the reason why I'm working on this very simple Souls-like and stepping away from Galactic Smith only for the moment, mind you, is to be able to add to Galactic Smith. And that might sound really strange, but this gives me a very basic playground to really use that similar structure that I've already created with Galactic Smith and really prove to myself that this is going to be a viable workflow for me. right? Having an animation header already created, having a manager area already pre-implemented, so that later on, when I'm in an area like this, I can define the application that uses things I've already built and just build upon that and get slowly better. One thing that I'll show you guys here is, well, two things I'll show. This is the game I made that I put on Steam, and it's by far not perfect. This was made in this SFML. This part is made in Java processing. This is the C++ engine. This is another processing part and another processing part. And so what I've been able to do a while ago was I made a very simple game engine that is so much different than where I'm at today. It did have a game update loop pattern. It didn't really use singletons. This does have Steam achievements. It was made from scratch in SFML and C++. And it was a great way for me to really be able to learn about the publishing, figure out how this stuff fits together. And originally I released Rogue Tank, then I added 3 games to it. Honestly, this game right here is pretty fun. I very much enjoy playing this. This one's pretty fun too. If you guys want, we could actually take a look at playing those sometime. And then, I got some poor reviews here, right? And so it was a great learning experience at the end of the day. And this here is my website. So this is a game that I made in a game jam, Yuffie's Cosmic Crookery. This was made with a group of people, fantastic group at Ferris. It's actually playable right here on the website for free. It was made in Godot. I'm not great at Godot. I don't see me making any Godot tutorials in the future. But yeah, very cute game here. And this website just kind of has like some of my portfolio, some context stuff. This card game's kind of fun. Wanted to make something simple. And it's kind of like Marvel Snap. And there's some glitches, as you can see. So right now, lowest pile wins, so enemy 1. We can trade hands, so on and so forth. Folder focus. This game's kind of weird. You're kind of like this thing on an Ubuntu screen, and you're shooting paper at these viruses, collecting the paper, or the virus. Some of the viruses drop stuff. When the viruses touch your folders, it kind of makes them smaller and whatnot. But if you walk up to your folders, you can kind of trade your size for theirs. And of course, if you lose all of your folders or get smaller, you die. And so this website is being held as well on my server. I'm showing that because as you learn, as you progress, as you go further and further in game design, eventually, if you go to school for it like I am, they're really, really heavy on the portfolio side of things. And so making a lot of stuff, having a GitHub, having different repositories, putting out work, several of those things are free. Having an itch.io, those are very, very important. And then like being able to work in Unreal Engine, Unity, Godot, be flexible, helps quite a bit here. Now let's just check the time here. Okay, so it is it's 2:12. Just kind of check in. I think for now I'm gonna call it a day, guys. I think I owe you guys another Unity tutorial. I owe you guys another Unreal Engine tutorial. And so I think this is kind of going to be what I do for a minute is a live stream. I'm going to be live streaming my engine. And of course, I'm going to be working on this without live streaming it as well. Lots needs to be done. Need to add enemies here. We're going to be using the signal manager to send signals from player to enemy, enemy to player for damage calculations. The link from the About section is probably very old. So let me try. Let's go here. I'm not sure if it's copy server ID. Invite to server. Should be able to hit copy. Bam. And that should be dandy. But yeah, as I was saying, there's lots that needs to be added to this yet. I'm only on spring break until Sunday, and I do have an assignment due during spring break. And so, yeah, I think for today, getting that signal manager to work, showing kind of like the paradigm of the structure, I think that's what we're going to call it for today. And thank you guys for joining, listening to me banter on. Keep coding, keep practicing. Enjoy game design, guys.